Alright, good evening everyone. I say good evening. Wherever you are and whenever you're watching this is just a recording. So the purpose of this recording today is to go over the ZH Champions League, which is a new tournament that we've come up with. And I think the very fact that we're having to explain it via a video kind of tells you that it's not exactly the most straightforward tournament that we've ran, but we're going to give it a go anyway. So very briefly, Zero Hour Champions League, as you can see, we're sort of pinching some text, one might say, if you're either familiar with it or you're not. Current prize pool, and that's current being the key word, it might increase, is $500, aka and myself putting in 300 and 200 respectively. I won't go over the prize split just yet because in order to work out what these all mean, it's going to be a little bit, there's a lot, let's just say there's a lot to get through. So, rules are just sort of standard, you know, usual gentle, fair play rules, all that sort of stuff, you know, all that sort of stuff. The key thing is the format. Now, this is where it gets, let's say, odorous, or complicated, for a simpler word. So, there's effectively, well, there's a lot of stages, and what I'm going to do is, there's a lot going on, as you can see, there's this stage, this stage, this stage, this stage, and then there's a separate stage here. Someone's done a nice little summary here. But what I've done instead is I've decided, the map pool, let's have a look at this. This map pool is just for the qualification round. So this is just what applies in the early stage. We'll come back to that. So I've created this little handy chart, and I think this should help explain it nicely. Okay, so phase 1, qualification. Now then, the key points or key features here. There's no player limit. Everyone and anyone is welcome to sign up and is encouraged to sign up. And the main complication here is that the players will be split by region. So, well, that's where it gets a bit complex. And basically, the actual how many qualify for these two sections here later on from each region will depend on basically who signs up. So, if you had, say, 50 people signing up from, I don't know, Europe and only 10 signing up from Asia, then obviously these stages are going to have, you know, they're going to feature more European players basically. So yeah, that the allocation isn't determined yet. That will be determined once we know all the sign-ups and who's going to actually be attempting to qualify. What is key to note is that the total number of players that will ultimately qualify, regardless of the regional split, will be 32 into what's known as the ZH Champions League group stage. And a further 16 will qualify for the Continental Cup group stage. So that's the key thing. Let's just have a quick look in here. So the qualification format is here. This here, as you can see, matches this bit here. So let's have a quick look at this. So it says here, only 32 will make it to the main tournament. Now the main tournament is this ZH Champions League section here. And it says, to decide which 32 players progress to the main tournament, there will be a qualification round, blah, blah, blah. Players will be divided into groups depending on regions, as spoke about just then. And it says, whilst the top players from the qualification round will advance to the Zero Champions League, below that will be a Continental Cup. So basically, we're going to see 32 progress to the big competition, and a further 16 to the little one. Now then, key thing to note, the regions that will be in play. There's going to be 8 in total. The UK, West Europe, Germany, Russia, Eastern Europe, the Americas, the Middle East / Africa, and then Asia / Australia. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 regions in total. And obviously if we end up having an even number of sign-ups from all these countries, then the split would of course just be, for the main 32 in this competition, it would just be 4. You know, four lots of 4. So yeah, you'd have 4 UK players, 4 West Europe, yeah, so on and so forth, you get the idea. Just a quick side note, players from Israel and Turkey will be allocated to Asia / Australia, so Freestyler and Resnot, for example. Okay, the maximum amount of players in a group will be 6, and obviously each group will feature only UK players or only West Europe players, so on and so forth. And the number of groups is effectively uncapped, it just depends on how many people sign up from each region. So if there were to be, say, 16, no, let's say there was 18 UK players, then there'd be 3 groups of 6. It's really as simple as that. Yeah, so I don't think there's really too much to go on other than say that the qualification round will be round robin. So already it's worth noting that this actually could take a little while. It's only best of sevens. The aim will be just to complete this as quickly as possible. And it will, of course, just depend on who ultimately ends up sucking up. Now then, only key thing to note is the map pool is down here. And this is the only map pool that's been released so far. This will be for the qualification phase. Some different maps, I think it's safe to say. A couple of these have been tested. Dryland Desert, I'm personally a big fan of that. Millard will appreciate that comment. I haven't actually played Forest of Oblivion yet, but anyway, don't need to go over this much. I think you all know majority of these maps by now. Ugh, who put Dedusa in there? Okay, yeah, as it says here, only for the qualification round. So this will change in each phase above. Okay, right. That broadly covers the qualification phase, and as you can see, this alone is like a tournament's worth. I'm hoping that it will go fairly quickly. I think the only thing to note here is that if any set goes to 3-3, then it will just be on rank Forest of Oblivion. So yeah, it's a round robin, and it's just a best of 7 in that round robin. Obviously, there'll always be a winner and a loser, so yeah, it's fairly straightforward. Nothing too uncontroversial here. And in the end, so we can come in here, qualification stages here. Now, this is just an example of what the bracket might look like. And obviously, it just depends on who signs up. So in the example shown here, we've got 2 UK groups, a Germany group, 2 West Europe groups, 1 East Europe group. Obviously, these just depend on what's going to happen. And we've capped out at 6 just to limit the time that it takes, because don't forget it's a round robin. So in any one group, you have to play everyone in that group. So that's already 4 matches in every group per player. So probably not going to be a 2-second job by any means. So that's just the qualification phase, by the way. So let's go back here. What we're going to do now is we're going to hide this, and what we're now going to sort of highlight is what actually happens. So let's just say there could be any number of players. There could be 100 odd players here, and from this 100 there'll be 32 entering this stage, and there'll be a further 16 entering this stage. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cover off. So yeah, the top 32 will feature here, and then places 33 through 48 will feature here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by just covering what happens to players 33 through 48. So key features are next 16 qualifiers, position 33 to 48 in this phase, will all feature in the Continental Cup, the group stage of the Continental Cup, I should specify. I think the players are seeded. I think I need to clarify this whole seeding thing. I'm pretty sure there'll be a seeding, and that seeding will just be dependent on performance in the qualification phase. That seeding will then be used to split into 4 groups of 4. And then in this phase there'll be each player that plays each other will be a fixed 8 matches. So just to demonstrate this, let's just get up the bracket quickly. Not this bracket though, we want to get up this bracket. So as you can see, there'll be 4 groups of 4. So player A there'll be 3 sets in each group basically, and each of these sets will be a fixed 8 matches. So let's just go into here, and we're going to get Continental Cup format. So this here is this bit here covers off this box here. So key features: 16 players in 4 groups of 4, as already discussed. Fixed 8 matches. Obviously, you'll play 3 sets. Now then, the group stage is matchup reverse. So yeah, similar to the Extravaganza in that sense. The actual matchups will be revealed at a later date, because as you can imagine, there's a lot of work that still needs to go into this. We've just gotten up to the point where we get qualification sorted for now, and the rest will follow in due course. So the key thing here is that you get 3 points for a win, no points for a loss, but you get a point for a draw, which of course is possible because you're playing a fixed 8 matches, so you could end up with a 4-4 situation. Yeah, in the case of, so by the time you've played your 3 sets, if there are any players on the same number of points, then the tiebreaker will just be the number of games won. Beyond this, it doesn't actually specify what happens if 2 players are on the same number of games won and the same number of points. I'm pretty sure we'll do something wacky like, I don't know, casino. I don't know what we'd end up doing, but I think the chances of it happening are fairly slim, but if it does happen, we'll deal with it. Or we should probably update this just to specify what will actually happen. But I'm pretty sure we'll just do something crazy just because why not? Okay, now then. What happens is, coming back into here, the top two, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, these 8 players, so top 2 of each group, will end up going into the next phase, which is the Continental Cup knockout phase. So you've got basically, yeah, top 2 from each group enter the knockout phase, and it's just a knockout round at this point. That should be seeded. I'm pretty sure that the winner of each group will face the runner-up of another group, if that makes sense. So, for example, the winner of this group might play the runner-up of this group, and so on and so forth. Should be fairly straightforward. So then the knockout phase is covered off by here. And it's quite simple. It will just be best of 11. That'll be a quarterfinals, then a semi-final, and then the final will just be a best of 13. And key point is the winner will get $50 and the runner-up will get $25. So yeah, that's the Continental Cup pretty much covered off. It'd be nice to increase the prize pool for this and actually the entire tournament based on how much is going on, but you know, it'd be nice to find a bit more sponsorship, I think, but we're trying. We'll see how much we can get. $500, you know, even only a year or so ago would be considered pretty epic. It's just these recent World Series just kind of show, you know, it's been a bit crazy recently, shall we say. The inflation of prize earnings on this game has certainly shot up in the last couple of years, that's for sure. It's amazing what the pandemic can really do. Okay, so that is these 2 phases taken care of and the qualification phase. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to bring it back. Now, originally we started in the qualification phase. We then will move, for the top 32 players of this phase, we'll move into the ZX Champions League, that's what CL stands for, group stage. So what I'm going to do is just come back into here, and I'm going to bring up the ZX Champions League group stage. So again, this is actually pretty similar to the group stage of the Continental Cup. In that, let's have this section here. Let's open it up. You'll have 32 players divided into 8 groups of 4, and yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll be seeded based on qualification performance. This will just be a round robin, and again, fixed 8 games, reverse matchups. So yeah, all basically the same point system will be allocated. 3 points for a win, 1 point for a 4-4 draw. So that is what we're talking about, is this box, and that pretty much covers that. What we then do is we'll take the top 2 players from each group, i.e. these 8 groups. So the top 2 from that means 16 players in total. And what we're going to do with those 8 players is chuck them into this phase here, known as the ZX Champions League Super 8s. So yeah, I did say this is pretty complicated and convoluted, but I did warn you in advance. Anyway, not lagging for too much, let's go into this. So, coming out of here, and coming into here. So what we're going to have is, the top 2 from each of these groups will enter the Super 8 stage. So what you've got is you've got 2 groups. They're called I and J here just because it feeds off from the previous section we were in. But let's call this Group 1 and Group 2. Okay, that sets that out. So what we have then is each player will have, basically there'll be a round robin. So there's a round robin here and there's a round robin here. So that's right, every single player will play 7 sets. So again, this stage is probably going to take quite a long time. Probably one of the longer sort of period of times. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, anyone that has any experience, they can take quite a long time. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, but we'll give it a go. Should produce some interesting matches. That's at least the hope. Each set that you play, so whether player 1 against player 2, so on and so forth, will be another fixed 10 games in this case. And once again, it will be a case of, so you get 6 points in this case for a set win, and 2 points for a tie, and then no points for a loss. Once again, it will be matchup reverse. Matchups will be revealed at a later date. I imagine the matchups would be different to the group stage format. That makes sense in my mind. It says here, points collected in the group stage will carry over to the Super 8s. Ah, that's actually an interesting quirk, actually. So that's something I didn't consider. So, if you come back into here, points here plus your points here will end up helping you when it comes to this section here. Okay, that's an interesting way of doing it, but I suppose it makes sense. So here, meaning, for example, if Excel won all his games in the group stage and collected 9 points, his starting tally in the Super 8s will be 9 points. Meanwhile, if another player won 2 of his games whilst losing 1, his starting tally will be 6 points, so on and so forth. That's fairly straightforward. And yeah, you get extra points. Obviously, the idea of this is that you get more points here because the logic is that the weighting, you're meant to get more points for wins in this section because in theory it'll be harder. Ultimately, you're playing against tougher opponents in theory because you'll be in a round robin with higher quality opposition, effectively. So yeah, that's pretty much that. And then it says here, in the case of the same number of points, the tiebreaker will be number of games won. And then hopefully we don't have to deal with the pickle of 2 people being on the same number of points and the same number of games won. I mean, the chances by this point should be very, very, very slim, but ultimately possible. So again, I think something for me and Joker to contemplate. Okay, so it says here the top 2 players from each of the 2 groups will go to the playoffs. Yes, that's right. There's another stage. That's this stage here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clarify. So it's the top 2 from here and it's the top 2 from here. So you end up with, after all of this, 4 players left. So you've ended up with 32, 16, down to 4. So 4 players will reach this stage, the ZX Champions League playoffs. And what I'm going to do to explain this section, because once again it's not straightforward, because why would it be, is here. So what happens is, there are 4 players, seeded 1 through 4. Now the seeding works like this. If I go back into here, here. So bearing that in mind, we come back into the playoffs. Seed 1, Seed 2, i.e. the winner and runner-up of the Group 1 from the previous round, they will face off. The winner will go straight through into the grand final, and the loser will go through into here, which is the loser bracket round 2, effectively. And here, Seed 3 and Seed 4 will battle off against each other. This here is, in effect, the 3rd place playoff in a way, or the minimum 3rd place playoff, one might say. So yeah, player 3 and player 4 will battle each other. Whoever loses this game is out. Then you're left with 3 players effectively. So you've got the winner of this game will be in the grand final. The loser here will then play the winner of this game. These guys will then have another set. And then the winner of this set will feature here in the grand final against whoever that might be. And this here is ultimately what determines player 1 and player 2. Player 3 will be determined by the loser of this match here. And that's important because the prize pool, if we just scroll up a tiny bit, the winner ultimately of the Champions League will receive $250 based on the current prize pool. The runner-up will receive $125 and the 3rd place will get $75. So that means winner of this $250, runner-up of this game $125, and then the loser of this game will get $75. The loser here gets absolutely nothing, despite having gone through there, and there. So quite a lot of effort potentially, but especially if you got that far, and so near yet so far, as the saying goes. Maybe depending on how the prize pool increases in future, maybe there'll be some small consolation prize here. We shall see. Okay, just to go over that final little bit here then. So yeah, playoffs will have 4 sets. Yeah, this chart here is loosely similar to the chart we've just seen here. Right, it's basically the same. So it says here, players will have 4 sets. Yeah, basically the 4 sets are this one, this one, this one, and this one. So the winner of... Yeah, I don't need to go over this. You all get the idea. The key thing to note here is that it will be each game here, best of 13, best of 13, best of 13, and best of 13. And once again, it will be matchup reverse. And the matchups will be revealed at a later date. Okay, that's it, guys. That covers absolutely everything. Thank God for that. We got there in the end. So just to very summarise very briefly, qualification phase, top 32 go here. The winner of and runner-up of each group will come to here. They will go into 2 separate brackets. Group 1 of the winners and Group 2 of the runners-up of the group stage. they'll all play another fixed set, and then the top two from each of those two groups will come into the playoffs here. Yeah, so that covers that off. Obviously, then these final 4 that make it here will then see the prize split between them. And then the top 32 are here, and then the next 16 players here will be entering into a group stage of 4 groups of 4. Once again, the top 2 of each group will come into here, so you're left with 8 players in total here, and then it will just be a simple knockout phase. And that will determine who gets $50 and who gets $25. Again, based on the current prize pool split. Okay, right, that's that covered off. I'm going to leave it there because it's 1:30 in the morning where I am right now, doing this recording just before a busy day of work tomorrow. So hope that helps, guys. And I will see you all next time. Take care. Have a good evening.